Today we're going to talk about the causes of the Civil War and the attempts to prevent it from happening. Chapter 15, Section 1. As we've talked about earlier in this year and throughout this year, the North is based on a trade-based economy. Its sole reliance is on factories and industries manufacturing products and shipping them out. The South had more farming, it's agriculture, it relies on its land, it relies on slavery. Free Soil Party is created in 1848. Its sole purpose is stopping the expansion of slavery. It makes slavery a key issue in national politics, and its slogan is free soil, free men, free labor, free speech. The tensions in 1850 are at an all-time high between the North and the South, and this is kind of an attempt to settle that conflict for a time. And so Henry Clay, the compromiser of all time, sets up the Missouri Compromise of 1850. Same rules apply. The only thing is they're adding on. They're adding on this. California is going to enter as a free state. It puts the government at an imbalance, but the North is going to have to give something up to the South, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. Slave trade is also ended in Washington, D.C. Now, this is what the North had to give up for the South. A stricter new fugitive slave law was passed, and Congress would not try to stop slavery spreading into any territory gained from the Mexican War. The whole purpose of this is to try to settle those differences and try to give something and gain something. The South was having an extreme problem of the North giving back slaves to the South once they were caught. The North would just let them go and be free. And so this stricter new slave law is going to cause some problems between the North and the South because the South ends up thinking that the North is not going to do it. And the second concession of not stopping slavery spreading into the new territory gained from the Mexican War is not that big of a deal for the North because that area is really not set up for slavery. There's not a lot of land to be cultivated because it's desert. Chapter 15, Section 2. The fugitive slave laws we talked about demanded that all citizens help catch runaway slaves. That means North and South all are trying to help each other catch slaves who run away. Judges would get paid $5 to release slaves and $10 for returning them to the South, which means they could make more money returning those slaves to the South. This is Harriet Beecher Stowe. She is the author of Uncle Tom's Cabin, and it's a novel that is based on the evils of slavery. It gives a true look into the lives of slaves during this time. Stephen Douglas, who's a big-time congressman at this point in time, comes up with the idea of popular sovereignty. And we've talked about popular sovereignty. It means people power. Okay, and so it means control by the people. People get to decide by voting on the issue. And where he places this is, he places it in the new territories coming up for statehood, and that is the Kansas and Nebraska territories. And it's called the Kansas and Nebraska Act. Each territory will be able to decide the slavery question by popular sovereignty, which means it takes the Missouri Compromise and takes it and says it's no longer valid, it is unconstitutional because of this new idea of popular sovereignty set up by Stephen Douglas. We remember the Missouri Compromise of 1820. Like I said, the Missouri Compromise of 1850 just builds on it and adds California. What comes of this Kansas-Nebraska Act is that because it's on voting and on popular sovereignty, people flood into Kansas and Nebraska from both sides, South and North. And it is pro-slavery versus anti-slavery. It gets very ugly. People were killed, over 200 people were killed on both sides. John Brown is an extreme abolitionist, killed 5 pro-slavery men in Kansas, and is going to arrange Harper's Ferry's raid. He raids an arsenal and hopes to lead a slave revolt later in time. Chapter 15, Section 3. The Republican Party is created in 1854. It basically takes over from the Free Soil Party. It's not as aggressive, but it's saying that we want to stop the spreading of slavery. We're not against the entire act of it where it is. We just want to stop from where it's going. The Dred Scott v. Sanford case is a Supreme Court, and it rules that Dred Scott could not file a lawsuit because he was black and not a citizen. Also said that Congress could not outlaw slavery in a territory. Missouri Compromise was unconstitutional. Again, another decision that takes the Missouri Compromise, crumples it up, throws it out the door, and it says that it's just not going to work because it's unconstitutional. And the judge in this case, which we'll talk about who he is in a little while in class, but the judge gets a little overzealous, and he says that no one person or Congress cannot outlaw slavery in a territory. And so the story of Dred Scott is that he's a slave, and his master takes him into Wisconsin, which is still the Northwest Territory. It's not a state yet. And so Dred Scott files that he should be a free man because he's in a northern area where their slaves are not allowed. And the judge, a southern judge, overrules that, who is the Supreme Court justice. He overrides that whole thing and comes up with this decision, and it says that slavery is now legal in all territories and that territories could not outlaw slavery. This leads to Abraham Lincoln coming back into politics, and he runs for a senator of Illinois. And it leads to the Lincoln-Douglas debates. Abraham Lincoln and Stephen Douglas run for a seat in the Senate in 1851. These debates become highly, highly nationalized. He gets national coverage, and it's a huge gain for Abraham Lincoln later. And Lincoln loses in a close race but gains national recognition. John Brown, the abolitionist we talked before, he's going to arrange this. He does. He raids an arsenal, and he hopes to lead a slave revolt. He does it, and he's arrested, convicted, and they hang him. Chapter 15, Section 4. A platform is a statement of beliefs. In 1860, Abraham Lincoln is elected as the 16th president and the first Republican ever to win an election. Secede means to withdraw or separate from the Union. South Carolina is the first state to secede from the Union. And South Carolina said that if Abraham Lincoln won the presidency, they were going to leave the Union. Texas becomes the 7th state to secede, and we'll see this in order of how many slaves each state had is how it moves through time and exactly which states secede from the Union first. South Carolina is this largest slaveholding population. It's the largest slaveholding state in the Union, and it's going to secede first because they feel that Abraham Lincoln is going to attack slavery. And Abraham Lincoln at several points in time says he's not going to do that, and we will talk about that in class. They name it the Confederate States of America, and they elect Jefferson Davis as their president. The Confederate Constitution is supported by states' rights. It protects slavery at its all costs, and it allows for its expansion. The last hope and prayer before secession is final is the Crittenden Plan. It's the last attempt to compromise between the North and the South, and it does not work. That's the end of this one, guys. Have a good weekend.